Welcome back to Just Another Football Podcast. We have an hour to cover everything that happened in the last 3 days, never mind a week. Good luck, boys. How are we, Fergal and Harry, before we get started?
Yeah, just pausing for a second to draw a breath because it's going to be non-stop for an hour here trying to get everything in. I'm very good, mate, unsurprisingly. I've been much better than this. It's quite a nice feeling. Feeling quite smug.
Yeah, I'm
Different,
fine.
yes.
Next weekend, Ireland are still top in the rugby.
Oh, okay.
We had our first gymnastics world champions. On that front, it was good. And Leeds won, and Dad was happy. But yeah, then Sunday came, and it wasn't so good.
Well, Saturday wasn't so good. Philadelphia Union lost in a creatively heartbreaking way in the MLS Cup. So last episode, we did a whole dance about it. Union playing in the first ever MLS Cup final against LAFC. And I'll talk about it. Like, I can't avoid talking about this. I'll have to get it out of the way. But it was probably the most heartbreaking experience apart from the Champions League final in 2018. 2018. Yeah. I have an experience with slipping, right? I have the Gerrard 2014 slip. I have the ball slipping through Karras' hands in 2018. And I have Daniel Gazdag, our top goal scorer of 7 or 8 penalties in the season, slipping on his penalty attempt in the shootout, which came because Gareth Bale scored for LAFC to make it 3-3 in the 128th minute. And yeah, it was a heartbreaker. I was at the stadium. There was 7,000 or 8,000 people there. I think we were watching on the pitch on the big screen. They let us on the pitch, which was amazing. Like, as part of my job for the Union, I would go on the pitch often. That was different because you're watching with everybody else. Like, we score in the 124th, and we're just like running around and hugging people we don't know. It was mental. And then Gareth Bale happens, and yeah, we failed to score any of our 3 penalties. But it's crazy. Did any of you guys see any of?
Saw Bale's header.
I saw Bale's header. You know what? And it's just like, it's testament to how good of a player he is. Like, he's been shite for them the whole season.
I would say shite. Like, he didn't play anyways, and when he played, he scored 1 goal.
Yeah,
or whatever. That's his first home goal for LAFC. He's been uninvolved, shall we say? Yeah,
and then he scores a goal not too dissimilar to his Champions League winning goal. It was a header at the back stick. It's not quite at the back stick, but not too dissimilar. Sort of a towering header.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's like, it's just he just turns up when like for club and country.
Yeah, we'll see how he does at the World Cup. We have him in the group. The squad announcement for the US Men's National Team is in 2 days, by the way. It's on the 9th. So tomorrow, as you're hearing this, that won't be... Last weekend won't be my only disappointment of the week. That won't be fun at all. I expect a few big players missing out that I would take. About half the squad are players that I wouldn't, actually. But maybe that's an exaggeration. We'll see. But, Harry... You're gonna say something there. I cut you off.
I was gonna ask if you think Austin Trusty's gonna be in the squad, mate. He's been tearing it up for Birmingham. Yeah, he's a quality player.
I don't think so.
He's an absolute quality centre back. No, that's like the only US national team player that I have any. Actually, Matt Turner as well. But yeah,
Matt Turner is going. Matt Turner is going, and probably
he
will
should be
start.
Starting, mate. He's quality. He's absolutely brilliant.
He probably will start. I would start Sean Johnson for NYCFC, although he's a bit eccentric. His decision-making on the line is a bit iffy. Like, when we played NYCFC in the conference final, our second goal is one where he should have come out, but he kind of stood on the line and gave a big, massive gap between him and, above him in the goal and the part next to him for Daniel Gazdag to score within 6 yards. So great finish. Like, no keeper saving that, but he gave him that chance. But he's the best goalkeeper in America, in my opinion. But Matt Turner isn't. far behind, so he will start.
Yeah, he's been doing all right, mate.
That said, Sean Johnson isn't gonna get called up. I have a feeling, and I will be disappointed. Well, whatever.
Save it, Ali. Wait till it happens. You can let it all out once the squad comes. There's no point getting angry about it. Adding to your anger from the weekend, just immense frustration. Let it come, man.
I don't know if it's anger. It's just complete heartbreak. Like, I spent a solid 2 hours after the game just like stunned. Like, I had a couple of my friends watching with me. I just like, all right, I'll see you later, blah, blah, blah. And then sat in the car alone, go back home. I live alone. And then it's just like, and I haven't watched anything since.
It's a sad story. It really is. Should we get on to some positive stuff?
Well, Liverpool won against Spurs.
In fairness, there was a great photo as a result of it of Will Ferrell and Gareth Bale. Which, I was personally quite happy to see that. I was a nice crossover of worlds. And I'm just watching some of the clips here. I see it was the LAFC sub goalkeeper that came on as well.
I was gonna as part of like the feel good narrative that you've opened up here. This is a good story. So he was a Union goalkeeper up to I think 2018. John McCarthy. He played college soccer for LaSalle University in Philadelphia. He's a Philadelphia native. It went to like Westchester, I think, as well. Or lived in Westchester. And so Maxime Crépeau, who's actually a Canadian national team sub goalkeeper. Obviously his World Cup is over because he got an injury so gruesome that they didn't show it in the replays. So it was a terrible injury. The ball was headed back towards him. Corey Burke, our sub striker, like tries to chase down after the ball, gets there. Crépeau tries to, clear the ball out, puts a lot of force, but Corey Burke got to the ball first, so he ended up kicking Burke, got sent off for it, but also stretchered off and into the hospital, like he missed out on the celebrations as well, which is sad. But John McCarthy comes on, and also, obviously, all the best wishes to Crépeau. This was pretty nasty, and I hope he comes back from it soon enough. At least it's good that it happened right at the end of the season, but... So, John McCarthy comes on, and he saves 2 of our penalties. Like, Daniel Gazdak slips, and then he saves the next 2, and essentially wins it on his own for us. For LAFC. Us. That was a big mistake. He'd conceded from Jack Elliott, English center back, who'd scored twice. So there was a sideline reporter that posted on Twitter that 10 seconds before Bale's goal, they were told to get ready for the celebrations and that Jack Elliott was going to be man of the match, or MLS MVP, as we call it.
Yeah.
And then Bale scores, and then the penalty kicks happen. John McCarthy wins MLS MVP. So that was quite a good story because he was sold because of Andre Blake just playing every single game. Andre Blake being our goalkeeper.
At least they didn't do that nonsense of declaring the man of the match or MVP before the final whistle is over, which for the life of me, I do not understand.
Like a few minutes before, and
they do it in England every time. Yeah, it's just like he could kick one in his own net, and then he's going to get man of the match after the game. Like, wait a few more minutes, man.
I think part of it too was that Jack Elliott was kind of dunked on by Bale. Not gonna lie. He's 6'6".
Yeah. It's not a great look, is it?
It unfortunately wasn't, but it is Gareth Bale. All right, MLS Cup's over. I don't want to talk about it anymore. We'll be back.
Ali,
next
this
season.
is why you shouldn't support your local team because it hurts more whenever you lose. This is why we need to support the teams abroad. You're a bit more distant from it. It doesn't hurt as much.
I don't know, man. I couldn't avoid it. Like it came natural. And I started working for them. Being like field lover every game. I just fell in love. Every time it was a good occasion, and it's still a natural.
That's the problem. The higher the highs are, like that is the problem with it. You then it's harder to look back and enjoy kind of what came before. Especially with knockout football.
That's not going to be the case for me.
Good for you.
The night that we won the Eastern Conference was still the best night of my life, but that won't change. Let's move on. Arsenal, Chelsea, you boys had a JAFP derby go between the two of you. George is not here yet again. I'm mad because this was the chance for Harry to, have a debate with
my chance
George,
to respond.
Respond.
To respond, yeah. Yeah, I like. Where do you want me to start? I mean, I can give you the Arsenal perspective on it. I think we were very good, very proficient,
and that's where I want you to start.
Good. Okay, I'm glad to see we're on track here. It's sort of reminded. It's the sort of game I think where, like Chelsea are missing players and they're not playing very well at the moment. It's well documented. I don't think they've been very good so far under Potter. And this isn't me blaming him, but this is just I don't think they're especially in a great moment. But prior to that game, no other top 6 team had won away to a fellow top 6 side. And so what that shows is it's not easily done, even if you're playing well and you're in good form and playing a team that aren't, you've still got to go out and perform. And I think that's the most controlled I've seen us away to a fellow top 6 team in a long time. And I know the scoreline was only 1-0, but really, we weren't under any sustained pressure at any point during the 90 minutes. Chelsea had a couple of attacks.
To add to that, compliment Arsenal, the only other team I've seen dominate more in recent years was Man City won 1-0 as well.
I was gonna say that. Yeah,
that game we didn't get a sniff.
Yeah,
but Arsenal came pretty close to
we did. I think defensively, especially, we defended well, and it's not when you think of teams going away from home and defending well, giving nothing away. It kind of gets associated with sitting deep, blocking spaces, blocking shots, clearing crosses. But it wasn't really that. It was more defending with the ball, keeping the ball, suffocating them. There was a clip. It was sort of in the 75th, 80th minute. It was after we'd gone 1-0 up. And it was a sequence of Chelsea trying to play out from the back. And it goes on for about 15, 20 seconds where they're kind of playing it back, playing it sideways. And they just could not get out and they end up putting it out for a throw-in. And that, for me, is a really positive development in how we're playing. Because when I look at last season, and we won quite a lot of games by 1 goal last season, and the way we would do so is play pretty well, get the lead, and then get to the last 20 minutes and chuck Rob Holding on, and go 5 at the back, and just sit deep, defend the box. Whereas now, what I've seen this season and what you saw yesterday was, no, we're going to defend with the ball. We're still going to have 60% of it. You can pass it round in your own third, but you're not getting into a half. You're not going to put us under any pressure, corners, free kicks, any sustained pressure in our penalty box, in our defensive third. And that's how you play with the lead. That's how Man City play with the lead, as you say. Not many teams have done that to Chelsea. So it was really positive from us. And look, I mean, we're getting points on the board. I think everyone knows that with this World Cup in the middle of the season, there's a lot of uncertainty with, teams when they come back. And obviously there's clubs that have more players going than others, but just get the points on the board. If we're 13 points clear of the team in 5th going into the World Cup, it's pretty hard to argue that we won't get into the top 4, which was the objective at the start of the season. And I think for the first time, this is going to bite me in the backside, I'm sure.
Uh-oh.
I am dicing with this idea that we can challenge. Now, Let me be clear on this. There's a lot of variables that need to go our way in terms of keeping players fit. I think we need to sign at least 2 players in January, which, who knows whether they'll put the money in. But if we're in contention, I think we definitely need another midfielder, and I think we definitely need another forward. I think we've done well this season to, one, keep Partey fit as long as we have done, because he's usually, he had an injury, but it was only a couple of games. And the other is to keep Saka and Martinelli fit. If one of those two gets injured, there's no one that plays those roles, firstly, the same, and secondly, to nearly the same quality. So I think in those positions, obviously you've got Smith Rowe to come back, but he's always prone for an injury. So they're the positions I'd be looking at. And then I think it also relies on Man City not getting 95 plus points like they have been, because I don't think we'll do that. I know we're on course for it at the moment, but you've got to expect some sort of drop off, when you get the Europa League games and potentially FA Cup, League Cup, whatever. You see with our squad, it's good when it's not stretched. The second it
And then
becomes
he
a little
came
bit
on
stretched.
for example, like
Yeah, and he's fine. He does a
he's
job.
he's grand coming on, but if there
You
was
don't
a
want him
game where
playing. You don't want him
you used to
starting
start him,
15 games.
yeah.
You don't want him in that role. So and with the Europa League, it's quite possible that if we want to go for that, we're going to need players across sort of multiple positions. So, but what I think with that is keep pace with Man City, keep doing what we're doing, and top four becomes a certainty at a point where you've built up such a lead on. It's not just that we're building up a lead; we're building up a lead on a number of teams. You know, it's 15 points to Liverpool, 13 to Chelsea. I think it's 11 to Man United, 8 to Spurs with a game in hand. Like, they can't all overtake us, even if we do have a drop off. So it's positive at the moment.
But would you say that if you weren't to qualify for top four, it would be a bottle?
It would be a
From this position, it would be
collapse.
it would be a real travesty. Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
When
Would
you
it
look
be
at
a
it,
bottle?
right?
Would it be a bottle? Because last
I don't
year
like the word.
we
Yeah, I mean, I
said
don't like the
it
word
wasn't a
bottle.
bottle, even though I still think it is. But
Well,
just I want to get your colours pinned to the mast. Is it a bottle from here on in? Not get top four.
But the problem is there's too many variables that you just don't know. If we had a massive injury crisis, then look, it would be looking at last season. Looking at last
Obviously,
season,
if you know if half your team gets taken out in a freak accident,
let's put it this way, right? Last season it was 71 points to get fourth. We're currently on 34 after 13 games, which tells you we need to win half of our remaining games to get in the top four. Yeah, I mean it would be a travesty. I'm not going to say bottle because I don't like that as an assessment. It would be a real disappointment. Is what I'll say.
It would be a collapse. Regarding that, not only Champions League qualification, but Premier League title. I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is, well, not saying anything. Proceeds to say something. But Arsenal have a record through 13 games that everybody else in Premier League history that's got to that point in that many games
gone on to win it.
On to win it. Except Newcastle '96. I thought it was if we beat them season.
The problem is all of those teams, bar the Liverpool one that got 100 points, weren't up against, or 99 points, weren't up against Man City. So this is the problem. We could go on to get 90 plus points, which would be a great performance. But if we get beaten by Man City, then like, what can you say? If it wasn't them, if they weren't the team up there with us, I'd go, yeah, I think we'll win the league. I think we're better than all the other teams. I think we've proven that. We've got it right. Yeah. But when I just look at them, they're going to win games. They won with 10 men at the weekend. It's just, they find a way. And they've been there as well. That's the difficulty with it. This is our first season doing it, really.
Okay, I'll say this too. And there's a World Cup in between now and the rest of the season. Man City have more weaknesses than you do. And I say this because I watched every City game this season specifically because I write for a City blog. I think they have more weaknesses than you do. And this is a general point, what Arsenal have taught me through the, let's say, 2 years that were like between, or is it 2 or 3 years? COVID period when you were in, you were like
2 seasons, season and a half,
season and a half or so. Patience, and not jumping into conclusions, because the difference between this donut play, this go right, go through the back, go left, cross it into the area, gets past everyone, recycle, back to the right back, back to the center back, the horseshoe stuff.
Yeah,
as you call it. And now, when you watch the pass map against Chelsea, it is honestly gorgeous. And it's so structured. So you have the back four are almost symmetrical. Then you have Partey as a central to build up. Xhaka has this new role of like almost mid-Salah to the left, supporting the supporting to the it is
it's a lovely combination with Zinchenko, they were rotating really well and causing all sorts of problems on that side.
And then you see Zinchenko coming problems because Xhaka would then overlap and then send crosses in from the edge of the area, scored a lot of goals that way. But there are these like build-up triangles between like Saka, Odegaard, Ben White, advancing far more than I ever imagined.
Yeah.
At that right, like I remember after the first game week, I remember myself
you weren't
saying
having it.
I
You
don't
weren't
want
having it
him
at
there
all.
anymore, but I couldn't be more wrong.
Yeah, he's been really good
surprise,
there,
surprise.
actually.
He has been.
Yeah.
Chelsea, on the other
He
hand,
could start for England there, the way things are going. Like.
If it
He
was a
can.
back four, I think he's good enough to play right back, and I think if it's a back three, then he's like certainly good enough to play right centre back.
He should be the
it's
one
just-
playing that because Kyle Walker and Reece James aren't fit.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
obviously, if Walker's fit, he'll probably play him, and you can't argue with that really, given what he's produced. But I think he's been really good this season. Like every game, he just gives you an 8 out of 10, and he's as you say, he's kind of added this string to his bow where he's good going forwards. He's probably better than Tommy Asu going forward. So, and he's a good defender. You know, he counter presses well, helps us stay up the pitch. Yeah, really, really pleased. Let's talk about Chelsea though.
Let's talk about Chelsea, and I wanted to.
Yeah.
And I wanted to kind of point out like the directness of passes and the kind of disjointed. It feels like I have the pass maps side to side right now, Chelsea and Arsenal. Arsenal's a compact kind of shape, and the passes are between players next to each other. There's some line-breaking passes through the middle, like through Partey and then through to Saka, let's say. But Chelsea are very wide apart. Cucurella is so wide. And then you have connections between Thiago Silva and Aubameyang. 6 touches, Aubameyang. Because he's just like, he's been sent these long balls. And it feels like it was too disjointed and stretched. I don't know. What do you think you saw there? Do you feel that way, given the data that was given? I haven't watched the game in full, so
you know, one thing I was it kind of came across very clear, and it's probably the one thing that I'm looking at Tuchel's team, and we were like, it's like, oh, we weren't bad in that sort of situation, was playing out from the back. There seems to be, we seem to be really well set up under Tuchel. I think basically the whole way through that we'd be able to play out of most presses. Like that. One of the reasons why we won the Champions League against City was because we were able to pass it out and release the pressure and keep possession. That in this game it was evident that like that had sort of regressed from Tuchel's time. I also just feel like as though like we're missing nearly definitely 4 starting players in Chilwell, Kovacic, who didn't start and wasn't fit to start, Kante, and then Reece James. Like that's basically our midfield when we're playing a back 3.
Yeah.
And I thought it was the midfield where it was like definitely lost. Like Arsenal bullied in that midfield. And if you have those 4 players starting fit, I just don't think we get bullied as much. And I thought it was a lot about the second ball and the duels and in this game to get that, to keep that pressure up. And then when we did keep the ball, it was like we hadn't trained to come up against Arsenal. Like, because they were taking 1, 2, 3 touches. I think Arsenal's press was brilliant, but there were so many times when it was clearly that a ball just needed to be moved quickly and passed on to some, like an obvious pass. It wasn't like the Arsenal press was very good, but it wasn't all the time that there was no option for the person on the ball.
No, there was traps. There
was traps, but there was times when like Loftus-Cheek, he lost it on the edge of his box.
Yeah.
And there was clear passes and easy enough passes for him to make. You know, like it wasn't like there was like it was just the fact that Arsenal had closed down every option and he didn't know where to go. It was the fact that he just didn't make the pass. He just didn't do a pass quick enough. that happens too many times, and then sort of leads on to like not getting, leads on to like the pressure mounting even more, and I think lost a bit of like courage as well with that. I thought I thought the defenders apart from Cucurella were actually had brilliant games. I thought Aspilicueta done really well, and Chalobah done well. Thiago Silva maybe could have done a little bit better. That Jesus header, he seemed to lose. Thiago Silva seemed to lose him in that scenario. Cucurella didn't think had a good game. And yeah, it's the midfield
this hug in the corner.
Like Jorginho is he's not gonna win us. He's a squad player at best for us now.
Looking at it as well on Jorginho, so I just had to look at this, and I noticed it during the game. He's so deep. It's unbelievable. Yeah. He's playing in the back four. Like they're saying it's a back four. Looking at the average positions, like he's deeper than Azpilicueta. He's practically in line with the two centre backs.
Yeah.
And he did a decent job of screening and intercepting, but it just meant that when you got the ball, you just had no one in midfield to pass it to, and no outs.
And a lot of what people were saying on Chelsea Twitter was like there's nobody that's driving the ball forward. Loftus-Cheek, the most annoying thing about him, he's all the attributes to be that player, but he's never positive enough and like taking a responsibility to like drive with it forward himself and sort of break a press, even though he's got so many attributes that he should be able to do that. And so like if you swap out the midfield four, including the wing backs there, I feel like it's Arsenal might still win, but it's not as a dominant display, because I just thought the Arsenal midfield just bullied us. And then the goal was just really disappointing. It's like Arsenal like definitely deserved the goal, but like for it to actually happen like that, it was just like Havertz was just awful. People were making fun of Cucurella, but I thought, and whenever I saw Cucurella, I thought of that that Neil Warnock clip from where he's slating the guys for a set piece goal they conceded, and he goes like he's screaming at one of the centre backs. He's like, "What? Why'd you mark him? He's not your man." And then he goes, "Because he was free." And Neil Warnock goes, "If it's your man or if it's not your man that scores, I don't get angry at you. I get angry at somebody else." And I feel like Cucurella, that's what had him in.
Yeah, he took that quite literally, doing his job.
But I think that was the right thing for him.
Havertz should clear it. Havertz should clear it. Yeah.
I don't think it was his job to clear it though. It should never have got to him.
Yeah, Havertz should clear it. That's my
it
on the front
through
post.
Him and Thiago Silva before it gets to Cucurella. Cucurella shouldn't have to be worried about a bouncing ball coming across the box. Like, so I'm very forgiving of that. I thought that was people were making fun of it. It is kind of funny, like, but
it does look funny. Yeah,
I thought like he's stopping Jack from scoring, and like it's whoever's marking Gabriel and whoever's like I literally don't know what Havertz is doing. Like Scott Parker said,
he got distracted by Saliba.
Scott Parker said he should have dropped off, or he should have been further back to then go and attack it. Either way you look at it, he just didn't fully go for it. I even thought he could have went and met it with a header. Like where he started, I think he could have got a header on it. He didn't need to even drop back. But that's him being a striker. And then the chances that Chelsea got, we could have shithoused it if we had been clinical in the moments, because there was a couple of moments a good squared ball, and it
was a Havertz one, wasn't there? It was quite early on, his first 10 minutes, where if he just looks at Aubameyang sort of peeled off back and he just smashes it across the box, like I don't know what he was doing there. To be honest with you, that was it. That was one of the very kind of few moments where you got in.
And on Aubameyang, I don't think he deserved to start.
I'm confused. I think
I don't know why he started.
He was always going to start. He was always going to start in this game. Whether he deserves to is a different question. But I think given the needle in the fixture, given who he's playing against, I always expected him to start. But
also the position he was starting in as well. Like
on the left is strange.
Like
he was never good there. he was never good there for us. Like whenever we shoehorned him in on the left, and especially sort of when he lost a bit of that like extra pace, he just isn't good with the ball into his feet.
It was a very fluid front three. Like Havertz would roam out to the left sometimes, but a lot of the time he was in that left channel, and I just didn't I didn't really see why, and I was like, we've barely played Sterling in his favorite position as like left of a front three, and it's like if we're playing the front three, playing there.
I think you wanted him in behind Zinchenko. That was why I thought he played on the right, because that is where we leave the space in our back four, because we pushed Zinchenko so high.
It did work for the one chance.
Yeah, there was a couple, wasn't there, where they got in down the right.
Yeah,
I think that if you look at our defending, that is where we leave a bit of space. So I can understand why he did it, but Aubameyang just isn't good on the left.
I don't know if I agree with that, Harry, because I seem to remember that.
I'm certain, mate. I'm telling you now.
I'll say this: he's not good now, but I seem to remember that the kind of the early Arteta tenure, when you won the FA Cup, during that like summer period when the season was stopped, he was on the left.
I'm not saying he's never been good there, but like that
he just said
season after. No, I didn't say that. I said he hasn't been good there in the last 2 years when he's lost his pace and the ball bounces off him. He can't take the ball to feet. He cannot take the ball to feet. His close control and like his physicality, he's actually quite tall, but it just bounces off him, the ball. He's got no. Yeah. When you compare him to Jesus, who's 4 or 5 inches shorter than him, but everything sticks to him. The close control. I know he's not scoring at the moment, but you can't dispute what he's offering in his all-round game. And you compare that to someone like Aubameyang, where if he doesn't score, even in the games he's played for Chelsea so far, against Milan, I think he had something like 15 touches, and he scored a good goal where he tapped it in, but he didn't do anything in the game.
No.
I think Chelsea got problems with that front three, because I think whoever they pick, they're just so inconsistent. It's so blunt.
Play Pusic!
No.
We've had it for a while where it doesn't quite fit, and I think there's players like there's just so many players that you're just like not sure what to do with them. I'm like a broken record, like constantly saying it. Like Jorginho should have been moved on at this stage. I feel like we've gotten rid of our best winger that would have worked under Potter in Hudson-Odoi for the season. Like Potter apparently is rumored to want him back, and he's doing all right in Leverkusen. It's probably good that he has gone there in some ways to get like regular game time. Yeah. He's playing under Xabi Alonso now, which hopefully will be doing good. But yeah, it was just like it's a bit disjointed at the moment. I thought the midfield was the main thing, but the thing is we have to now work out a way without the midfield that I would have wanted. And also I do like us with the 4 at the back, but like the midfield was just, I'm not even sure. It was a really fluid system at times as well. Like I said, it was a front three, but then I'm kind of remembering it was at times Mount was sort of playing left wing, and it was more like a 4-2-4. And then at other times, and then what I also noticed was Azpilicueta and Chalobah were quite fluid at times. Sometimes Chalobah would be the right back, and Azpilicueta would drop in. And the way Potter sort of spoken, it sounds like he's kind of encouraged this sort of thing. There was moments where like I thought it was a poor midfield performance individually a lot of the time, on top of Arsenal just being great at defending. But there was real moments where we had a really good chance to counter if we just, instead of taking 3 or 4 touches, we took 1 or 2. And I think that would have been the difference. And then just being stronger and not being bullied. I don't know when we're going to get the midfield I want, though, because every one of the players is some level of injury prone, even Reece James. So like Kante is nearly like you can't rely on him at all now. He seems like he could be done.
Yeah, he's missing the World Cup as well.
Chilwell's missing the World Cup.
Yep.
Kovacic seems to be constantly in and out, and he looks like he's purring at the moment. I don't know how he's playing so well with how inconsistently he's starting games. Like
he's just that good.
He's looking.
I guess
he's just that good. He's really come on leaps and bounds like in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But there is green shoots. So I'm not like totally dismayed. In some ways I don't think like I don't feel, although we were totally dominated, I don't feel like there's that many pieces missing for us to be a lot more competitive in that game.
Do you think it's a form question more than kind of
it's a
system?
Form and like I know, well, like the two main differences were the, like, as I said, the Arsenal's able to play their. Am I wrong? Tell me if I'm wrong, Harry, but that's your perfect starting 11, isn't it?
Yeah. I was thinking going into the game, like, if you were to name an 11, that is our 11 at the moment, no doubt. Like, it is an advantage, and Chelsea didn't have that. Like, you got to acknowledge it.
So it was the starting 11s, and then user further down the line in this process, and every player knows exactly where they need to be, and those are the two things that sort of shone through, and it makes me kind of wonder, would I sacrifice the Champions League we won under Tuchel for whatever Lampard would have been?
No. You must.
I don't know. Like, I'm looking at Arteta now and I'm going, maybe we should have stuck with it.
No,
maybe
Lampard isn't good enough.
Kept it.
Lampard isn't good enough to achieve that. At least Arteta had like an education.
Arteta at the same time.
I get where you're coming from, but it's wrong because you're looking at Arteta. Okay, former player, gets the club, understands the culture, whatever. Arteta had his education in Manchester City before he started his own path. Lampard didn't. Lampard just went straight in, and just didn't have enough ideas. Just didn't. He isn't tactically astute to lead an elite football club. That's my take. He's gonna end up managing a few mid-table sides, a couple of relegations, a couple of championship stints. That's Frank Lampard. He does not compare to Art. They're not on any level.
I was a
bit
down on Lampard recently, but I think he's. I'm gonna keep an eye on him at Everton. I think
please do.
Starting to work stuff there.
Well, they have 2 wins in 13, isn't it? At Everton, but whatever. Like Everton were above us. Now they are 16th, 14 points from 14, 6 defeats. Come on. They won one in the last.
People weren't too up on them at the start of the season either.
Well, yeah, he had a good start. That's all. They've been pretty horrendous lately, but we'll see. I was just talking about patience there.
They've been shit. They've been rubbish recently. It's not the right time to be gassing up Lampard.
Yeah. Well, but
don't mind it.
It's a good analysis there. Good coverage, boys. Liverpool Spurs to wrap up an almost perfect weekend. De Bruyne dive aside, Liverpool I thought were lucky to win, massively. We were gifted the second Salah goal. They had this match chance that also essentially came up and did the star, and then it hit his head, banged on the post. Spurs kind of helped us out here. Eric Dyer's header back was just not good. Like, just chest it down and pass it on to the right back. Like, why are you considering heading it back? It's pretty strange. Thought we were lucky, but I'm gonna breeze past through the analysis of the game and jump right in to yet another thing that happened this morning out of the absolute blue. Liverpool getting put up for sale by FSG, as The Athletic put it. So the statement was a little bit confusing at first, but for all intents and purposes, they're looking to sell the club. But what the stadium read, the kind of the significant part is there have been a number of recent changes of ownership and rumors of changes in ownership at EPL clubs, and inevitably we are asked regularly about Fenway Sports Group's ownership in Liverpool. This was a letter to The Athletic directly. FSG has frequently received expressions of interest from third parties seeking to become shareholders in Liverpool. FSG has said before that under the right terms and conditions, we would consider new shareholders if it was in the best interests of Liverpool as a club. FSG remains fully committed to the success of Liverpool, both on and off the pitch. So I see the headline. I go right into the article and read through it. I see this. I'm like, are they selling, or what's happening here? But then every other journalist under the sun goes like, they're selling, and like no doubt about it.
What ownership percentage do they have?
They have. I don't honestly know, but they don't have.
Because I was thinking about this because I was like, it wouldn't make any sense to sell parts of the shares unless they've got more than 51.
They do have more than 51.
Yeah, because
that
would make sense. Because you would sell everything up until 51%, because that's the money maker. That's the big time. Like you can't sell more than 51 shares, obviously, because then you wouldn't have managing control. You'd be like a consortium then. So if with like 51%, they won't go below that, because that's their big cash check that they're gonna get cash in at some point. It's interesting. There's Chelsea journalist suggested, he wondered if it was, were they surprised at how much Chelsea got, and is with that in mind, are they looking to go, oh well,
there are a couple theories. There's that. There's the question of, I don't know if after the Super Cup or the Super League, was kind of collapsing, and after that, whether or not they thought, well, I don't think we can compete with elite teams anymore, especially City, Chelsea.
I think that's the reality. Newcastle. I think that's the way football's trending, is Liverpool's model of spending within their means requires perfection. And when you're up against state-owned clubs that are just going to plow more and more money in and make it essentially a war of arms, you've got no chance. You've got absolutely no chance competing with them.
I don't know if it was a question of having to perfect their model, or because they have. Like, for all intents and purposes, they took a team for 300 million pounds and are now selling it for, I think they're going to sell for 4 billion, is a figure I read today. That's mental. And within all this, all trophies possible. And then, all trophies possible. There's an expansion to the stadium. There was another expansion in 2016. And yeah, they just raised the franchise value. Any organization that owns, or any person that owns a sports franchise, or any franchise in general, looks to increase the value of the franchise. And whether we like it or hate it, that's all of business. That's just how things work. Like you buy something to raise its value and get richer. Regardless of our sentiments about, oh, they should do it for the team. Like, no, they're here for the money. And that's every other owner in the world. Unless you're like really, really just incredibly invested in your life for a specific sports team, but that almost doesn't exist, if at all. But that is a successful ownership, and I wonder if they're like, well, we reached the end of what we can achieve, and we have time to move on. The timing is interesting. In the middle of a World Cup, which I think will come back from the World Cup with a new ownership group for all intents and purposes. But yeah, Fergal, you're gonna mention something there?
I was gonna say, like you're saying, you're talking on from Harry's point about perfecting it, but like that's the point. Is like they've like virtually perfected it.
Yeah.
And they've only won the Premier League once.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like,
that is true, and that probably is part of the thinking. Man City are around, like, we can't do more than we could.
Yeah, that's it. They've gone like, what more can we do? In this model that we're doing, the only thing other to do would be to like nail 100% of the transfers and get maximum profits every time. But you're living in fantasy land. That doesn't happen. Injuries happen, and you buy a Nunes, and there's money gone up in smoke.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
But to answer your question, it appears that they have an 89% of the stake in Liverpool, and the 11.
Wow, that's quite high. So they do have room to sell on a few shares without selling off. Would still have a good amount to.
So one of the theories is based off that statement is that they want to become either minority shareholders or no shares at all. But 11% is onto Redbird Capital Partners, who bought 11% of the stake for $750 million, £655 million, which is almost more than double the initial price that we were bought for in 2010. It's just crazy.
How much
they
were
took
you bought
that
for?
300 million. 300 million. And then 10% or 11% was called Newcastle for that. Yeah. Well, they bought a NHL team earlier, or like last year, Pittsburgh Penguins. So maybe they're
hockey.
NHL, National Hockey League.
Not gonna make money, is it?
Well, it will. Like, they wouldn't have bought it if they didn't absolutely know that it would. I will say NHL is less popular in the United States than soccer, which is interesting, but that's a very recent thing. But for instance, owning an MLS team is massively profitable because of the absolute meteoric rise in this sport in this country, especially going to the 2026 World Cup. There's a lot of room. But yeah, that happened this morning. That's the first thing I woke up to. Well, no, the first thing I woke up to was the Champions League draw. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But that was like almost like I woke up, like scrolled through my phone. Champions League draw, Liverpool playing Real Madrid. All right, frick. Okay, that's our Champions League season done. Take a shower, come back, and this. So it's like it was a mental.
It's almost like they saw the Champions League result, and then we're like,
yeah, we're done.
Like, well,
nope,
can't just give up here. Cash in. We're not getting a Champions League this year.
Not doing this. After losing to Real Madrid twice.
It's like they're like, we're well out of the title race in the Premier League. Let's see who we get in the draw in the Champions League. See if we have a hope. Nope. Right.
You're damn right. Before we're gonna have you squeeze this in there, and we have a little time left for this. But
yeah,
pre-recording, Fergal, you had something to say about Jurgen Klopp that how within the last week, World Cup starting in 2 weeks,
yeah,
squads are starting to come out. There's something there. Takes away.
Every so often, there's like a clip from Klopp's press conference and it's usually him talking about morals and stuff, and it contaminates my timeline no end. And this Saturday, I think it was Klopp giving off about the Qatar World Cup, which is fair enough. And he went on to say, like, stop quizzing the players and managers about it, which I understand. I get where he's coming from, like, especially when there's lots of more powerful people that are dodging questions and dodging the tricky subjects. Why should a footballer that left school at 16 and is just clued up in football and is younger than us, why should they be quizzed on the moralities of and the hypocrisy of it all and all this here? Then he goes. He says something along the lines of, I can't remember the exact wording, but where were you? And he's pointing to the journalist at the press conference. He was like, all 12 years ago. His point was, you can all give off about it now, but the actions should have been taken 12 years ago to prevent it happening, or just after it was announced. Things should have been done then before the the wheels got turning on it, and it's too far gone to turn it around now, which is a very, very valid point. But he then points at the journalists and are like, and nobody was talking about this 12 years ago, were they? I'm there going like, what? Like the amount of articles that have been written. It was an English investigative journalist. I can't remember his name, and forgive me. He's an absolute hero. He's actually done loads of really good investigative journalists. But he's an older guy. He's not even a football journalist. He's like a investigative journalist into like gangs and corruptions and all sorts. And the biggest one he came across was FIFA. And then it was a lot of his investigations that led to the FBI taking it up then. So he done all of that. And he was a journalist. It was then also like at the time it was announced, everybody knew it was dirty. Like I remember the discussions I was having going, this isn't right. Like everybody knew it. I remember listening to the Football Ramble and they were sort of saying it, but you can't say too much, especially if you're you can't make accusations unless you have the solid proof to back it up.
Yeah.
As well, especially with an organization like FIFA, they'll bury you in lawyers.
Yeah.
So for him to say that, and also this notion, he also made it out as if like it would actually be if journalists had said enough or made enough commotion, something would have been done. And it was, it's all on the journalists to say stuff, and they have the most significant power in turning and changing the opinion and ideas of FIFA, which is complete nonsense. The people that have the most power are actually the players. As a group of players, not one individuals, but as a group, players and managers, they can stop football and change it in a different direction if they really wanted to. If they're all on the same page, it's them that are football. They control football. If all the big players don't turn up, if all the big teams don't turn up, things would change fairly quickly. So it's something to keep in mind that like although I understand that like they don't have the responsibility, they didn't choose it, but then to pin it on the journalists, I'm just like you're missing the point, and like you're also you're hiding from the responsibility that and the actual power that you have there as well.
I don't know if I agree with that specific point. I agree with everything you said up to this point. I'm not if he was
am I
hiding.
wrong? I know
I don't think he's.
They shouldn't have to do it, Ali.
Yes, I agree.
Make out as if journalists have more power than, or have the most power out of everybody.
Yep.
It's actually the players and people within football. Obviously, like I don't want to slag off players for not, because it's all the FIFA crooks at the end of the day. All the suits that fuck this over. But I'm a bit like if you really want to change Klopp, you could like there actually is a lot more power in a player slagging off the World Cup than any journalist writing anything. Like if Klopp had said something at the time, that would have made more news. If players started considering, I don't know if I'm going to go to this World Cup, that would make big waves.
Okay,
I understand why they don't. They shouldn't have to choose their possibly one World Cup in their career.
Yeah,
they shouldn't have to choose whether they're going to it or not.
Yeah,
but
true.
It just rubbed me up the wrong way that it was like.
To be honest, me too. I thought it was completely unfair because it is journalistic work that has led to all the scrutiny that is leading up to the World Cup, and this taste on, at least in the West, most people, I would say, going into it and feeling uneasy about it, and a lot of player protests as well. That was all as a result of journalistic work and spreading the word in investigations and interviews with the workers that were there in the sites and their families or families of those who passed away working on the World Cup and building all those stadiums. Cost of hosting this World Cup is $222 billion. The next most expensive was the Brazil one. I think the figure was 17. That's insane. So all of these things wouldn't have come to light if it wasn't for the work of the journalists. And for Jurgen Klopp to point at a journalist in a press conference in the way he did was extremely unfair, in my opinion. I do agree. But yeah, the World Cup's in 2 weeks. We will be covering it. If you have issues with the World Cup, that is completely fair enough. But we will be covering it with all the nuances behind it in mind. But we'll be here throughout the duration of it. Before that happens, go on.
And just sort of on this tone is Ali. I don't know if you would have maybe seen the clip of it.
Yeah.
But Gary Neville on Have I Got News for You, English panel show. I'm sure most of our listeners are aware of it. It's like a political comedy show. Gary Neville hosted it.
Oh.
And he got grilled by Ian Hislop, who's...
Do you know the most surprising bit about all of that? He actually seemed genuinely surprised to be getting the questions he did. Like, it was pretty obvious what was going to happen when he went on there, and he was going to get taken to task over it. I thought he would have been a little bit better prepared for it, even though there's probably not a great answer to give.
You know, in fairness to... I was surprised that he didn't have more to say, and he didn't have more debate. I think... And he done like a wee video beforehand about him doing something that's presenting the show, and it's a bit outside of his comfort zone. I think he was massively outside of his comfort zone. It's quite a hard show to host. There's lots of, like, you have to know all the news of the week. You have to, like, there's loads of cards that you have in front of you. You have to read and all the cue. You have to deal with the off the cuff lines that, like, some of the wittiest sort of people on telly are saying. You've got Ian Hislop, who knows everything there is about politics and on everything. So he didn't present it very well, but he's not a presenter, and it's a really, really tough gig to do as one of your presenting. It's also politics, and it's not all football. I think there's so much going on in his head. He couldn't think of anything good. I actually didn't. Whenever I was watching, I didn't realize that he was doing commentary for BN Sport. And I was there.
No, I didn't know that either.
They said Ian Hislop goes, well, you know, like Gary Neville was like making the point. Well, we can go there and you know, highlight the issues while we're there. And I was thinking, like there's going to be loads of BBC journalists doing that. I don't see the problem with that. I was just thinking he was just doing ITV. And then Ian Hislop goes, yeah, but you don't have to take their money. I was going, what? I was in my head, I'm like, he's not taking their money.
He's on their payroll. Yeah,
he's just doing it for ITV, and then I find out he's doing it for ITV and BN Sport, and like I just don't know how he's, like he's going to be on with Keezy and the boys. Like it's I don't know how he's doing that. They must be giving him a big fat check. You know, his only redeeming. The only way he redeems himself is if he does a big long monologue, drops the mic and walks out.
Oh, that's never gonna happen.
It's not happening though. But that's the only way he can come back from this is if he sticks to his word and actually on a Qatar. It's pretty sure it's state backed, isn't it? BN Sport. He came out and done something, but he won't.
Yeah, he won't. Okay, we are just about an hour in. We said at the start of the episode we have an hour to get through all this. It's clearly too much for an hour.
It's a tough ask.
And I have to leave soon, but there's loads more to cover here, including we're gonna get to Short King of the Week at the end. Cliffhanger. Crescencio Somerville. There is something really funny about Tabs on Tammy, and a reason why it has been quiet for multiple weeks now, maybe more than a month, maybe between a month and two, is Fergal. He is the worst striker in Serie A.
He's not having a great time of it.
He's not. He
scored 2 goals for a bit, like, and he was dropped for a bit, and Dybala came in. Dybala's got injured. Now he's got a chance.
Yep, Dybala's missing the World Cup.
I've seen some of the clips, some of the misses he's had. He's going through a tough old time of it, is Tammy. But I'm sure he'll persevere.
Yeah. We'll see. He has 2 goals from 6.2 expected goals. Opta's expected goals, not StatsBomb's expected goals. FBref, sort yourselves out. So that they lost at the weekend 1-0 and against Lazio. Derby loss. Yikes. Not in the Champions League positions at the moment. Neither are Inter Milan. They lost to Juve. Pretty easy win for Juventus. Like, that doesn't happen very often. Juventus are like injury plagued. You look at the lineup and there's like a lot of names you wouldn't expect to see starting for Juventus. Is a strange one.
It's like a couple of youngsters, isn't it? The Moretti and Bera.
And Fagioli scored the second goal.
Yeah, you have to be careful. Yeah.
Yeah. That is true. I'm starting to wonder what the future for Inzaghi is going to be at Inter. It doesn't look good. I wonder if they're going to take the chance during the World Cup and change minds. Southampton changed their minds on Ralph Hasenhüttl finally, and it was surprisingly only a 4-1 defeat to Newcastle, and it wasn't another 9-1 or 9-0.
They also were quite unlucky with some of the chances they had. Like, Shea Adams should have scored, and it's a weird one because they changed. They backed the manager in the summer and changed all of the backroom staff. And I think he had an input into a lot of the backroom staff.
That was a mistake.
And now they've gone. Now, whenever you can make the case that he's a wee bit unlucky, and also he hasn't got it's a very young squad, and I think they're playing to the best of their ability in some regards. I don't know who's gonna get much of a better tune out of them than what they already are. They've got a couple of injuries as well. There's a lot of good players in there that I like. Obviously, Bazunu have banged on about him. Then you've got Liverpool.
They've got a young squad, which I actually didn't realise at the start of the season. They've got the youngest squad.
Liverpool, Bella Kocha, a lot of their best players, and
Lavia
in midfield. Really young squad. I think
I was excited by the transfer window.
It is harsh, but then he has lost 9-0 twice.
He's been there for 4 years.
Maybe he should have been sacked before.
Yeah,
he's been there 4 years. That is a long time for when you look at Southampton, they always finish between kind of 14th and 20th. Yep. It's actually surprising you get a manager that stays there that long and keeps them between those positions. I say between 14th and 20th. It's between 14th and 16th, or 13th and 16th. They never go down, but they're never top half either.
But
so
I don't think as soon as they lost Ings, they've never had
they haven't replaced them. Their forwards are poor.
Yeah.
They huff and puff
really
a lot
have
up front.
Quality players apart from Ward Price as well. And
yeah.
So I feel I genuinely feel like he's finishing, avoiding relegation is what that team should expect. Maybe they
he's done what you'd expect. He's done a good job. If you set it out, you would say, we're not going to spend 100 million in the transfer window. You'll get kind of 50, get a few players in each year. You sell your top goal scorer, don't really replace him. I think he's done a decent job. I think it's just run
this year they raided Man City and the previous they've been constantly raiding youth prospects of the top 6, and now it's can they slowly but surely build something with these main players at the spine of it.
And they drop below the line, and Southampton sack him. And
Nathan Jones has been lined up, and I'm not sure about him either.
No, I don't know. I don't know about Luton's gameplay really, but I think it's kind of similar.
They punch above his weight, but he moved to Stoke, and it went horribly wrong. But that could be Stoke.
Oh, was that a few years ago? Is that around 2019?
A couple of seasons ago, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Is that hit? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he had a bit of a mother.
That'll be interesting.
He done really well at Luton, and then Stoke had to go with him. But then Stoke haven't done well with anybody, so it could just be Stoke because Michael O'Neill had to go. Michael O'Neill was a great manager for Northern Ireland, and he done so much with that Northern Ireland team, and he couldn't really get a tune out of Stoke. So, there you go. There's other good managers that have gone to Stoke and haven't impressed, so it might just be Stoke.
Maybe.
But at the same time, I feel like it's a risk considering Hasenhüttl has been solid enough.
He always does the same thing as well, where they look like they could go down. They always put a run together in the middle of the season, kind of between November and March, and then April, May, they just tank it and end up finishing kind of like close to relegation, but they were never really in it, if that makes sense. Like they end up finishing closer than they were kind of before the last 10 games. I think he's just hit a glass ceiling now. I mean, I don't know what you do at Southampton, to be honest with you. It's just a bog standard job,
I'm just
isn't
thinking as well, is this the most English managers that have been in a Premier League?
Oh, good question.
Must become in a while.
Mm-hmm.
If Nathan Jones gets the gig, you have Potter at Chelsea, Lampard. I can't think of any more. There is more though, isn't it?
Definitely not English.
Three whole managers.
Well, one left. Stevie Gerrard. Unai Emery came back. He's clearly not English. I mean,
I suppose we've lost an English manager.
Yeah, there you go. And they replaced him with. Was he the last? He's Europa League champions from a few years ago. 3-1 win against Man United. Their worst nightmare. United won.
Eddie Howe. Forgot about him.
Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
There you go.
David Moyes is British.
David Moyes is British, but we were talking about English, so that's
We'll expand it to British now to make the point a bit easier.
Okay.
And who's at Bournemouth at the moment? Isn't there someone British at Bournemouth?
Short king of former short king of the week, of course. I forget his name.
Nottingham Forest. There is. There's a good few British managers.
There you go. Okay. Now we've made the point. Let's move on. Let's move on to Argentina because something really funny happened. Really funny. 10 red cards, boys, in a game. I think it's called Trofeo de Campeones. It was a league final of sorts. I'm not very familiar with the league structure there, but it was a final. It was played in Boca Juniors ground, and it was between Boca Juniors and Racing. The regular normal time ends 1-1. There are 3 red cards in that time frame, and then Racing score the winner. Late on in the second half of extra time, the goal scorer, Carlos Alcaraz, taunts the fans, and chaos. And everyone gets sent off. It led to 10...
That's so South American.
10 red cards.
I was going to joke, it doesn't sound like the Argentines at all, this.
No.
Does not sound like them whatsoever. So yeah, it was. There were 3 yellow cards the first half, run of the mill. That was fine. A whole host, 5 other yellow cards in the second half, which took the count up pretty high. Then 2 red cards in the 95th minute, one for either side. I guess that was just a fight. Red card in the 100th minute from a second yellow. 2 more yellow cards in the process. Then red cards. 2 for Racing in the 124th and 126th, and 5 for Boca Juniors in the 125th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 10th. 120th. Yeah, 130th minute.
I saw a clip of it. I got to the point where like the players were like kind of like fuck it, and they'll do something and just like give a thumbs up to the ref
like handshake or whatever.
They're like fair play. I've done a red card here. Yeah, fair enough. Like it was the same. It got to the point. It was the same sort of attitude that when you do like a cynical foul and you're just like you don't even look at the ref because you know it's a yellow.
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah, no, I understand, ref. You had to do that. It was like that for like 3 reds.
Yeah.
It was mental.
Yeah, insane. All right, before we end this all,
who won? Who won it?
Well, Racing won because they scored in the 118th minute, and what kicked all of that off is that the goal scorer taunted the fans after he scored. So that was the trigger. The winner for Racing was the trigger, and yeah, they won the trofeo. So congrats to them, I suppose. Nobody will remember that they won. The 10 red cards or whatever it is, it's gonna like cloud this forever. Short king of the week, Crescencio Somerville, right? It's gonna give it to him.
I think he's got to be. I think that's.
He had a huge shout last time, and he ended up not giving it to him. I think he has to get it this time. Let's just award it to him. Harry, your vote?
Yeah, he's got my vote, mate.
He's got my vote too. Well, Somerville wins it. I hope you have a less chaotic week than the football was over the past week. All right. Have a good time. Cheers. Bye.